Hey everybody, it's Matthew, and I'm back from Standing Rock, and I wanted to give a video update about what my experience was, the status of the projects I went out there to support with, what I learned on the ground there, and any insights I can share to people who are considering heading out there. And I want to speak to the larger prayer as I experienced it. We had a really auspicious drive out there. I have a prayer to be flowing like the water, and it was really easy in a lot of ways getting out there. We landed there on Sunday morning, last Sunday, 2 Sundays ago, I guess. That was all the action was going down on the bridge with the water canyons happened that evening, and I was taking care of elders and a member of our group who was sick and finding us a place to stay that night. And are just getting those places settled. And so wasn't in part of any of the action out there on the bridge, and really was no part of any direct action at all. I was very much in the prayer for service the whole time of the elders and the healers and the community, and trying to learn as much as I could and help out as much as I possibly could during my time there. So if you're considering going out there, I want to say a couple things. I would only consider going out there if you feel like you are really doing great in your life. Like you have so many things handled in your life that you have extra to share, because you could tell the people that don't know why they're out there, or that don't have connected to their prayer for being out there, they're a bit like ghosts wandering around. And there's a lot to do, and there's a lot there that the indigenous people are holding down, because they're mostly the ones who are there for the long term, and they're drained, and they've got enough on their plate. And if you show up there, you really want to show up there from a place of abundance, from a place of like you have a lot to offer, and you have enough space to listen to what's going on for them and what they need. So if you have a lot going on in your life, or you feel like you're struggling in your life, or you don't really know, what you're supposed to be doing in the world, I wouldn't head out there, actually. If you can find an indigenous person or a person of color or a woman to support heading out there, that would be my suggestion. Or if you can find someone who's already out there doing the good work or helping the people that you want to help and can make connections to them, and I have some of those connections now, that's very helpful. You're in a culture right now that's actively working to deconstruct colonialism. And so one of the ways that that looks like is when anyone's speaking publicly, the voices that are lifted up and elevated and prioritized are the indigenous female elders first, followed by indigenous male elders, followed by indigenous women, followed by indigenous men of middle age, followed by indigenous youth, then followed by usually potentially women of color, men of color, then women in general. So basically, white male is your last in speaking it. And that's really relieving. I just want to speak to that. I felt like I showed up there and I had a lot to offer. I had the support of my family. I had enough resources. I felt spacious, and I could show up and listen and ask. I spent a lot of my time on my knees in public spaces, just kind of coming in really as humbly as possible, especially because I'm 6'6", finding out what was needed, asking them, or if I didn't need to ask, not bothering anyone and trying to help where it was possible. You really don't want to be a drag on the collective nervous system, because they're already metabolizing so much. So I just wanted to speak to that. So regarding the prayer that I had to support the medics and the healers, that happened to a degree. I was able to get my hands on a couple healers and nurses and security people, and help support them. There are spaces at a premium right now as it gets cold. So creating a solitary space that's just for healing, there is a massage space there, really wasn't within my capacity. There are some people I met on the ground, though, and then we're supporting that process going forward. There are some great safe spaces there, and I was able to work in them and support them. All the massage tables and chairs that I brought out made their way to those spaces and are being distributed as they see fit. I was able to support along with Asher Lyons and Malika and Lena and Eli and Zelig and Danny Mahoney, the prayer to support some of the Lakota elders there that Asher had relationships with. I also made other relationships with Lakota elders. We were able to support a man named Leroy Big Shield, who goes by Ghost, who's doing a lot of great work there. Get him into a warm, safe space, got him connected to some more resources. He's got a place on camp now where he can stay, and that feels really good. Made some connections with a woman who runs a kitchen out there named Rose's Kitchen. She's doing amazing work. She's really tired. She needs some support, practical support. Like she spends $60 a week on her generator running her kitchen. Needs linoleum on her floor. These are people that like we can help. They don't have PayPal accounts. A lot of them already have plenty of their own family members that they're supporting on top of the work that they're doing there. Most of the elders there are dealing with their own families, taking care of their own families, supporting the other indigenous people there. And this vision of supporting the elders is really great for me because they most see what's needed and they get the resources to who needs them the most and the most efficiently. So the way money is kind of coming in sometimes from the top down, it doesn't always get down into the root system as much. So for me, one of my intentions of going there was to make personal one-on-one connections with people that then I could continue to support the work that they're doing, whether that's the elders themselves or the people who are supporting the elders. I wanted to speak to my experience of that place and the prayer of it. So what I am coming away with, or what was awoken in me, is the truth that water is completely, totally, and absolutely non-oppositional. Water does not oppose anything. And in that complete, total, and absolute non-opposition, it is totally, completely undeniable. Water changes things by flowing around them or through them. And that's what gives me hope about this prayer, because we are all water. When we say Mini-Wachoni, it means water is life, and you could very much as well say that life is water. And that prayer of the water is so gentle and so undeniable that it cannot be resisted ultimately. There's just no space for it to be resisted. This is the waking up of the water inside of all of us. And that means, that includes the DAPL guys. That includes the Morton County Sheriff's Department. That includes the Army Corps of Engineers. That includes the water protectors. That includes the elders. That includes the elk. That includes all of it. The water is inclusive of all of that, trying to wake up to itself in non-opposition. So that feels important to share. That's some of the medicine and the prayer that I am, starting to wake itself up in me, through me. I very much intend to stay connected. There is need for pellet stoves there right now. A lot of people are having some respiratory issues with the propane. A lot of people are having issues with the wood stoves. What's needed out there is they don't really need clothes anymore unless it is super high grade Arctic tactical gear. Think like insulated Carhartt overalls. Think ski pants. Think like super, super strong down jackets with like fur-lined hoods, gloves, boots that are insulated. Clothing-wise, that's what they need. They don't need anything else beyond that. Super bomber blankets or like sub-zero sleeping bags. They need structures to winterize. They do need tents. They need canvas tents. They need yurts. They need wood to keep everybody warm. Driving through the middle of America, the Badlands, there are not a lot of trees out there. It's a big, spacious, open place. The heart of our country is vast. And so We've been looking at propane stoves or wood pellet stoves that are run on wood pellets because that's a little bit more easily accessible than wood, but they do need wood. If you're heading out there and you can do that, that's great. They do need winterized structures, yurts, army tents, things like that. They don't need rice or beans or anything like that. They need protein and meat if you're heading out there. Also, they need prayer supplies. The elders are fiercely holding down the prayer, and that's something that's kind of missed because you imagine you've got 150 to 200 people sometimes coming in every day and almost that many leaving every day. So there's a huge cultural turnover. And there are firekeepers and there are elders that have been there since the beginning that are holding that down in the prayer. Not everyone gets that it is a prayer. You are not walking into the United States of America. You are in a sovereign nation. Whether or not that's recognized by treaty or not, you're walking into a sovereign nation that you're being invited there by the Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota nations. And going there with that realization that you are invited into their land is super helpful. Going in there that they have a way that they like to do things. They ask that the women wear skirts because that's how they like it. That's what their tradition is. So it doesn't matter if you're an activist or not. So respecting the cultural traditions of the people on whose land you're being invited in is part of the process of repairing colonialism, in my mind and heart. Respecting how they want it done. They very much, are going through the elders. Even the Indigenous Youth Council is trying its best to work with and under the support and blessings of the elders. There's kind of three prongs. There's the prayer support, there's the political action that's happening, the tribal leadership that's involved in lawsuits and whatnot, and there's also direct action and activists. That's youth-led, amazing youth out there. Amazing, wise, strong, resilient young people putting their lives on the line in a really good way, and I have an immense amount of respect for them. So they need prayer support in that way also. So wood for their sacred fires, tobacco for their fires, sage, cedar tips, things like that, prayer flag materials. It's good for the people going out there to know a little bit about the Lakota spiritual traditions because they have a deep and strong spiritual well that they are drawing from. And it's helpful to show up in alignment with that, Yeah. So there's a lot of people doing a lot of great work. I feel like I know a lot more people with boots on the ground. I'm raising money right now, looking to support these pellet stove process, getting supplies for this woman Rose's kitchen, and moving forward on some larger projects around yurts and army tents to keep people safe and warm. And so I'm just going to repeat, if you're thinking about going out there and you are not winning at your life right now, like you want to feel like you've got a lot extra that you can offer. Because if you show up there and you get sick, or you show up there and you're fighting with your partner, back home, or, you show up there and you've got all your hard feelings about it and all your opinions and preferences and ideas that you just want to let everyone know all about, you're not actually adding anything to the collective nervous system of the camp. You're actually detracting from it, and they have enough to deal with as it is. So, if you're supposed to go, you will hear that in your heart. I really, firmly want to support, particularly like they need the women out there. It's so helpful to have the women out there. It's so helpful to have the women of color out there. It's so helpful to have the indigenous female elders out there holding it down. So, go if that's your calling, and find out, who you can support if it's not your calling. Personal support is really helpful. So thank you for listening. It's kind of a long video. Feel free to ask some questions in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them as I know. Bless your lives.